actually a little bit dangerous.
Why?
Because he has a hard time breathing when it's really hot out.
When it is really hot out, we want to avoid walking our dogs outside or be mindful about it, because dogs only have so much tolerance for the heat, just like us. So think about, if it is too hot outside for us, it is definitely too hot for our dogs. And so in those cases, we want to be considering activities that we can do inside to keep them enriched, or also just walking at cooler times like the morning and the evening, and trying to avoid that middle of the day where it is the peak hottest. So when you are considering whether or not to take your dog out, also keep in mind the breed. Certain breeds are more sensitive and more intolerant to heat. For example, brachycephalic breeds, those that have a squished face. So pugs, boxers, Boston Terriers, that kind of category. And it can actually be life-threatening when they are out in the heat for too long. As well, breeds like Huskies and Malamutes that have a really thick coat and a thick undercoat, they are less tolerant of the heat, and their coat actually does a good job of trying to keep them cool. So also good to remember that you don't want to shave their coat, because then you take away their ability to actually thermoregulate.
Thanks, buddy.
And a couple of extra tips too to judge if it is too hot is when you're walking on the pavement with your dog, put your hand on the pavement, or if you're wearing sandals, put your foot on the pavement for just a moment, and it'll give you a sense of how hot that is for your dog's paws. So another tip is to just give your dog the leash freedom to walk on the grass, walk on the shadier side of the street, or walk on trails or other grassy areas, just to avoid the hot pavement on those hot days. If your dog is showing any of the following signs, it might indicate that they are uncomfortable with the heat, too hot, experiencing heat stress. So excessive panting. If you are on hardwood floor, you might see a little bit of a sweat mark from their paw pads. And if their energy level is just lower, so they're more subdued and not as active. So on hot days, there are some other things you can do to get your dog exercise, and keep in mind physical and mental stimulation are both beneficial. So both of them drain energy. So just because your dog isn't running around at top speed in the backyard doesn't mean that they're not going to relieve a lot of energy by licking a frozen Kong, licking a licky mat, or solving a puzzle, which you can either get from a pet store or Google DIY for do-it-yourself puzzles at home. There are so many options out there that will certainly satisfy your dog and quench their energy needs. But in terms of exercising, if you have the space indoors to do some indoor games of fetch, like in the basement where you're not going to break anything, or and also with soft objects ideally, and you can play tug indoors, you can do training indoors. Again, that's good for mental stimulation as well, which in a lot of cases actually burns more energy than physical stimulation.